Hi, everyone. I wanted to thank you very much indeed for your thorough and interesting introductions. Um, and I also wanted to mention a few things about the role of the introductions in the class. What I'd like to do with them is, first of all, as you've seen from my point of view, you have my professional introduction, which is with faculty information on that part of the Blackboard site. You also have my personal introduction, the more informal introduction, where I talk about sort of my own personality, who I am, a little more of my personal take on things. This latter is very important because one of the things that I do in this class, as the course evolves, I also develop my own personality and try to communicate a dimension to the course that is implicit in the course, but I draw out little by little. And speaking simply here, what I'm after is showing you how important it is not to lose touch with the personal dimension of your own personality, either in a course or with writing at work. I think that there's a certain tendency and a certain convention to do both those things, both in school and in the workplace. And I think that's not a good thing, because whether we're talking about school or we're talking about work, it's really, really important to, yes, certainly fulfill your obligations to the course or to your supervisor or to your organization, but it's also really important to ground whatever you do in school or at work in your own values, your own beliefs, your own emotions, and your own experiences, and not lose that. Okay, I mean, that's sort of a nice ethical idea, but there's one other idea here that I wanted to mention here as the course is kind of moving into to its more developed stages. And that is, in today's world, in today's professional world, because of course it's a course in professional writing, I think the personal dimension is more important than ever. And I think that there's a real opportunity because of email, because of globalization, because everything is done so quickly, for people who are ambitious, for people who are that have a lot of aspirations, for people who have a lot to contribute to step forward and express who they really are. And this is most certainly true in my experience, because in the three major professional shifts in my life, in both cases, I was thrown into environments for which I was not really prepared, and for which I didn't exactly have conventional qualifications. But in all those cases, because of my grounding as a person, as a parent, and as a professional, I not only did really well, but how should I say this? I had access to kinds of experience as a professional that most people at that grade did not have. Okay, to put this in another way, because I stood up for who I was in a polite, diplomatic, careful way, but I never lost track of who I really was, and I was always able to articulate that in a respectful way. Let me put it like that. I was sort of granted a lot of latitude, a lot of freedom. I was asked to do things that, once again, no other person in the history of that organization or those organizations had ever experienced. And for this worked out really well in two senses. In the first sense, it worked out really well for me personally because I got to travel all over the world and do, once again, have all these really great experiences. The organization was sending me all over China. It was absolutely all over Europe. When the Berlin Wall was coming down, this was a while ago, but this was a sort of at the relatively early part of my career. The Berlin Wall was coming down. And I was flown in and out of Berlin, like every 4 days, and I got to see those changes. And then I was one of the very first really Americans working for the United States, let me just put it like that, who really got to see what was going on it was still East Germany at the time. In the former East Germany, let me put it like that. And this was fascinating because it changed my whole worldview because I had this certain preconceptions about what life was like there. But once again, basically, hours after that wall came down, I was representing my organization. I was taking hikes. I was doing cultural inspections. And so I had to get a really, really good view. And this kind of thing happened to me several times. And the reason that it happened, once again, and it wasn't because I was so smart. It wasn't because, I was high level, whatever. But it was because I was curious and I could reach out to people and I could figure out what was needed right then and there. And once again, I could communicate it in a respectful, disciplined way. And this worked out really well. And I think, once again, this is, as our course, COM 210 develops, we'll have a lot of assignments that can be done in sort of a standardized, programmed way. And some of that is inevitable in professional life. But I don't want us to be hypnotized by that. I want us to always resort to and express who we really are. And as the course develops, in the major assignments especially, I'll be talking about this. When it comes time to do our innovation project, this will be very important. When it comes time to do our group projects, this will be very important. And the last papers in the class, the same thing. I really want them grounded on who you really are and your true values. And it takes some planning and some thoughtfulness to make that happen, but you can do it and we can do it together. And the course will be better off, and your preparation for writing and work will be even stronger. Let me sort of conclude by saying something that I'm going to come back to, and that is we're living in a period, where writing is really important. And in many ways, writing is the distinguishing factor in many cases in job advancement and promotion. And the reason for that is obvious. That is because so much happens on email and by electronic communication. Once upon a time, that wasn't really so true. And the tendency was to have standardized writing. Well, there's still standardized writing, but there's much more occasion today to basically shine and put yourself in the public eye and draw attention to yourself at work through your writing. And I would say that one does not have to be like a naturally gifted writer. I don't consider myself a naturally gifted writer. But once again, I've been very successful at that because I was attentive and I was ambitious, and I am ambitious, and I'm always willing to volunteer for things that many people are a little bit hesitant to do. And in my view, COM 210 is a course that will really help you put your best foot forward and volunteer for projects and be ready to participate in projects that will really help your career. Okay, let me stop now. And if you have any questions about this, I'm going to create an area in the discussion board where you can ask me directly. ask me questions directly. The other thing that I wanted to say very quickly here is, everyone, listen, I'm very happy to give you calls, to phone you. The ideal time, I think, to have telephone conversation is like, from 7 to 9 or so on either a Sunday night or maybe sometimes Saturday. People tend to either be home and relaxed and not kind of fraught with work week issues. That said, I'm usually home. I'm usually home from, say, whatever, in the evening on Monday to Friday, and I'm happy to basically phone you whenever you feel like it. So don't hesitate to ask. Thanks, everyone. I'm looking forward to working with you this week.